Okay, what I have here is a bag that has micron filtration or HEPA filtration. And what I'm going to do first is roll out the end. So I'm destroying the bag. You want to make sure that it says micro or HEPA filtration. Most vacuum cleaner bags today already have some sort of claim of micro or HEPA on their bag because that's kind of the standard today. The one I'm using is a Sharp PU2 bag, but it doesn't have to be. What I'm doing is that I'm going to open the bag. See the way I peel the ends off. I'm going to open the bag like this. Okay, so we're going to make just a nice hollow tube there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach up and I'm going to gently separate the microfiltration bag part from the rest of the bag. Occasionally they will put little glue dots or glue spots there that you can see right here. Don't worry about it, just be gentle taking it off. Reach in again, I feel another one. I'm just going to separate it, pulling all around to separate just to make this liner inside free from the walls of the bag. Now, once you get the top part of it off, you can simply get rid of the paper portion of it. Let's see, here's the liner part. On this particular bag, it's glued at the seam and then glued at the seam. I'm going to leave this entire part whole because I want to have more surface area of the bag to work with. So I'm going to take one at a time and just kind of cut right along the seam that it's glued onto the paper bag. I haven't pulled other bags apart to find out about their HEPA or how their bag is mounted on the inside, but I would imagine that most of them must be similar to this. So then when I pull it, it brings me to the other side and you can see where I cut off. I'm not being perfect, not yet. It'll be perfect later. But right now, I'm just going to cut along the liner simply because I want to get
the filter off.
The filter, the HEPA filter portion of the bag off. Most bags are built just like this that don't have the HEPA filtration or HEPA liner in them, and they work just fine for a vacuum. They're not the best as far as filtration goes, and that's kind of they came out with HEPA filtration, so the air that came out of the bag was a little bit better. Now what we're going to do, if you have a roller cutter, it might be a better idea to use a roller cutter than scissors. We are using this template. This template here is a 6x9 template. And
which is what you need for the face mask.
The suggested size for the face masks. Now, somebody has a little bit wider face. You might want to make it a little bit wider, smaller, blah, blah. All the same. You get the
This is for adult size.
This is for the standard adult size. Smaller. So what I'm going to do, because I'm going to try to use as much of this filter as I can, is I'm going to simply take my cardboard here, line it up at the bottom. There may be some fold lines that are already in there, so I'm going to utilize those a little bit. And I'm actually going to cut this just a micro touch larger because I'm going to be sewing it into my cloth. This is just a liner that's going to go on the inside of the face mask itself. So just for that little additional protection. So again, I'm going to cut this a little bit larger. So I'm going to come through, mark out the size, and I'm just using just a standard
felt tip marker.
Felt tip pen, little watercolor felt tip pen. And when I come up, what you're going to see is that right there. Perfect? No. Again, doesn't have to be perfect, just close. Now, you want to use a good pair of scissors with this type of material because typically it will not cut with a standard pair of
those ones, the ones that work.
Of junky scissors, because you can see how
it misses all right there.
How it misses plenty of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a little bit on the outsides of the black lines. And again, this is all
Seam allowance.
a seam allowance. You're going to do some additional trimming later, but you want to come close, but it doesn't have to be perfect.
Let me get it.
Go for it. And there you go. That is your first step in cutting the liner. Now, I don't necessarily need to tell you, because you probably already have the idea, that now my material that I cut is going to be just about the same size. So now this one here, we're going to be...
Doggy print.
You got the cute little doggy print. We're going to be a little bit more accurate on. So again, this template is a 6x9 template.
I just got it off the back of a notebook, which is really great because it's like thick cardboard, cardstock.
Yes, and she got lucky that it just happened to be 6x9.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use a pencil here. If we can see it, we're going to do our best.
I usually
I'll lift it up and I'll see, and yes,
Yep.
we can see the line there. So Kassidy, go ahead and
just cut that out. Where's it at? Hold on. So then we have a 6x9 piece of fabric. Then you take your filter, and then you put the pretty sides together. So the side that has the pen, you're going to have it not touching.
you're actually going to take and put the filter on top of the side that you want on the outside, because at the end we're going to reverse it and pull it through, which you'll see. So voila, now you have your
Markings up
material.
and the ugly side up. Pretty sides together.
Okay, now at this point we're going to stitch it together.
But leave a gap so you can flip it inside out. There you go.
A few different stitch types you can use. We've decided to use the double stitch, or a double back stitch.
Oh, the foot is not on.
Uh-oh, where'd our foot go? Okay, and now we got the foot
I
on.
got the foot.
You want to take it over?
Do I?
I would definitely sew it filter side up. Now the reason how come I would sew it filter side up, the filter side is kind of a tacky material and it could get torn by the feed dogs or the little feet that pick up the material and pull it through. I'm not worried about the material itself getting torn by the feet itself. Let me see, did you want to change the color of the thread?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll change the color of the thread. Okay, so now we are selecting the double stitch. It's a straight stitch, but it goes back and forth a couple times. Now you should be able to see your material underneath of the filter media, the HEP filter media.
So you can see where to sew the line.
But them black lines on there mean absolutely nothing. You're going to have to use your eye. You want to sew in to the material between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch.
Like that.
And the reason why is because you want to leave yourself a little bit of edge for the elastic when we go to put the elastic in.
Doing it.
Okay.
Oh, he's going sicko mode.
So I'm going to bring this thing a little bit closer here since I'm going to be working on it. Make sure I'm lined up here, lined up there.
Make sure you leave your gap.
Leave my eyeball. Make sure I'm lined up, and I push go. When I come down to about the end, I leave my needle in the material. And I leave my needle in the material so that I can take and turn. And when I look here, I can see I need to go just a little bit further. So we're going to take a couple more steps. There we go. And come on down again. Okay, take a look. Get away with a couple more steps here. Okay. Now, did you want me to leave the gap here?
On the side.
Okay.
Because you're going to sew over the side again when you put the elastic in.
Okay, and one thing I want to remind you is that your stitches are never going to be perfect. This mask is not going to come out 100% perfect. But what it is going to do is it's going to be functional. So you just want to be pretty darn close. Again, I'm checking to see how much of a seam allowance. I'm going to actually go forward just one stitch here. Just to get me a little closer to that edge. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to leave a hole about this big. So I'm only going to sew everything off down this edge, but I'm still going to leave a hole about this big because I'm going to need to get in there and turn it around and fold it inside out. Okay, I'm gonna hit my tie off button here. You don't have to hit the tie off button. That's a old man
You're missing.
I guess I'm missing back there. I can't see. So okay.
Oops.
So
So
now,
then, okay, I don't like extra strings, so I'm gonna cut them off really quick.
in the meantime, we do have our iron heating up. Now, because you don't want to melt the liner, you got to remember this HEPA liner is just a type of synthetic material. You're not going to have the iron on hot, hot, hot. You're actually going to have it on more of a medium heat.
Okay, so when you're flipping it inside out, you have to be really careful because the filter will rip very easily. So usually I will like turn the edges inside out first, just so those don't rip. And then I like try to shove everything else through.
So basically what you're doing is you're pulling the inside corner up through the hole to the opposite corner.
Yeah, to make it right side out.
To make
so
it right
you end
side
up with
out.
stuff like this, and you have to pull it apart very gently.
They do make a hook tool that you can get down in there and use, and I think they actually call it a turn tool.
I've never heard of it.
Yep. And of course, I should have said in the beginning of the video, before you start making your masks, please wash your hands and do a good job. You don't want to...
If you're making for someone else, you don't want them to get sick.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we don't know if we have the virus until after we've had it for a few days. And so whoever is making these masks, really, you have no idea whether you have the virus or not. Even if you've been quarantined, it's still possible to get the virus from unknown sources.
Including your mailman.
We never know. Maybe even the mailman.
Okay, so then you're going to pull out all the corners as far as you can, but be careful because they will rip. They will rip. Okay, and so at this point, I will turn this side where it's rough inside so it looks like this. So it looks like that. I don't know if you can see that. Where you at?
You can see it right there.
So that looks like that. And then I will iron it. Do I post out the ironing board?
Yep.
Okay, hold this. Take this. Take me.
You're not too hot, are you?
I don't know.
We'll go ahead and touch it with your hand.
I don't want to touch it with my
Gently,
hand.
and then just
touch it with your hand.
I'll touch it with my hand. Okay, and that's fine. If you can touch it for a half of a second and not actually get burned, you're at the right temperature. But if you can touch it for an eighth of a second and pretty much get burned, it's too hot. You really do want to be on a medium.
I'm gonna put this down.
Or a medium low temperature. Now you do not want to iron.
Do not iron the filter.
The filter material. You
So
only want to
only the
iron the
fire.
top, and as you're ironing it, you actually want to pull your material a little bit over top of that filter material to where the filter material is actually hiding underneath of it a little bit. So go ahead and come up to the edge. Again, we simply don't want to melt the filter material. The HEPA filter material.
Okay, and after I iron that flat,
Voila.
I make pleats in it.
This is kind of the tricky part.
It's the hardest part. I don't know how to explain it.
Okay. So what she did is that she's bringing it down about 1.5 inches, and then she's folding it up.
But holding down on the fold.
While holding the back part of that fold down.
So it looks like this.
So she's leaving about 3/4 inch above this fold and about 1/2 inch below.
And then you just repeat that.
You can fold those out one at a time too if it's easier for you.
Yeah.
She's just doing a flip, a roll, flip, a roll.
So I do it like this, where it has 3 different sections, 1, 2, 3. And the middle one is kind of the only one that's actually folded.
So you're going to see the top fold, the second fold, and then the bottom of the mask itself.
And then I'll iron those in as well. got my hand. This is really just to keep the shape while you're wearing it, I guess. I don't know. And sewing it.
Sewing in the elastic.
So that's what I do.
Okay. Have any other elastic?
Nope.
Want to make that one for me?
That's ugly elastic. We can't put that in the video.
It's just elastic. I don't have any other elastic.
Well, at this point, you would...
We're going to put ugly elastic on
We're
it.
not going to put ugly elastic on it. It's dirty and disgusting because he worked on the car with it. We're not doing that.
Okay. Well, in that case...
Did you want to make straps out of this? Okay, since we don't have elastic, we're just going to be cutting ponytails in half. See a little part where they already put it together? Just cut it right there because we don't care. And you want to get the ponytails about the same size, and ideally from the same brand if you're using ponytails, but the best thing is elastic, 7 inches of elastic.
Sorry, the focus ain't auto-focusing, but you get the drift.
Just cut it. And then you're going to attach the elastic like this to the top and the bottom of the back of the mask.
Okay.
So we're going to sew that on using the same number 2 stitch.
Cutting board out of here.
Oh.
Sewing
It's an
machine
ironing
forward.
board.
Or ironing board, excuse me, not cutting board. You can tell I'm the cook of the house. Okay. Now what I want you to do is I want you to look in your sewing machine feet. This here is a J foot. They also make
An N.
an N foot.
GAJNNR.
The N foot has a
For lettering.
kind of a dip inside of it that'll allow cording to go through. If you have a cording foot, you could do that too, or an elastic foot. It's a channel to allow it in. This foot here is a little bit different. We're going to try to make it work the best we can. No.
But we wouldn't be sewing it like that anyway. We're going to be doing it like that.
Okay, so where would you like this?
So you're going to sew it like this. Like attach one here. And then just sew a straight line and attach it here.
Okay, so you're going to sew.
No. Here. What are you doing?
Changing my needle position.
Oh, okay.
I'm changing my needle position just because I want to make sure that my stitch is going over the top. No. My question is, though, don't I want to stitch down here too?
Yes, you're going to stitch one line all the way across so you can fill in that hole that we left earlier. Just to get it closed so that no air gets through there.
Okay, so we're coming right up along the edge here. I'm going to give ourselves just about 1/4 of an inch along that edge, but at the same time we're going to be sewing our elastic in. For this one I'm going to slow it down quite a bit.
See, now he's putting the elastic, looping it back, and that's the part that's going to go around your ear. And he's just going to attach that part to the bottom of the mask.
Now I'm going to tie my stitch off. Tying your stitch off generally means going in reverse for a stitch or two.
So it doesn't unhook.
Forwards for now, which you
See,
have.
now we have the loop for the ear. So this part will be on your face and this goes around your ear. And we're going to do the same to the other side for the other ear. start sewing at the top and do a straight line and put the other end at the bottom.
Lost my fold.
Yeah, your fold. So if it unfolds, you just gotta refold it. Not a huge deal. What happened?
Since we already have the elastic, I just went over my fold. So anyway, since we already have the elastic in there, I'm going to start a little bit below the elastic. Bring my elastic around.
Put on the bottom of the mask. Or top, or whatever that part is. The other part.
Yeah, we'll call it bottom for.
And stitch that one right in as well. And that is the loop for the other ear.
Do our tie off.
Cut it, and
Now you're going to have lots of loose little threads.
loose threads.
So you can come through, cut your loose threads. Remember, this is functional. It is not.
Beautiful.
It is not cosmetic. So you're going to see little loose little loopy threads here and there, and so on and so forth.
That's okay.
And that's okay. Now, all right. And as you can see, it's not 100% perfect, but it doesn't matter. Again, it's functional. It's gonna something that's gonna try to.
Can I try it on?
Yep. So there we go. Just gonna put it over each ear. Voila.
Boom. Face mask.
Uh-oh. Hopefully we didn't mess it up by turning it sideways. Okay. Go ahead and do it again.
Face mask. Solid.